This morning as we gather to mark Mandela Day, a day that celebrates courage, justice and leadership, we turn our hearts to remember a woman who embodied all these values and even more. Good morning everyone. It's my honor and privilege to pay tribute to our founder, Ma Sony, a woman of extraordinary clarity, conviction and compassion. A freedom fighter of no small means, Ma Sony's deep involvement in India's independence movement and her empathy for the pain of subjugation became the foundation of her lifelong dedication to equality, equity, and human dignity. Drawn from the timeless ideal of Vasudhaiva Kutumbika, her guiding philosophy, one planet the earth, one family mankind, remains etched in the spirit of Bluebells. She believed peace must be lived and not just spoken about. Every struggle for freedom she felt was a shared responsibility of all humankind. Ma Sony dreamt of a world without boundaries and worked relentlessly to build it through education that was rooted in human values. She taught generations to think beyond themselves and to live with humanity, courage, and purpose. Her sterling qualities of passion with wisdom and tenacity with resilience continue to guide us. They remind us to stand up and stand alongside those who need a voice and to never lose sight of her vision. Today we miss her deeply, especially on a day that she never missed herself. Her eyes would light up meeting emissaries from the South African embassies and other friendship embassies, reliving the honor of meeting Madiba and working with stalwarts like Mrs. Missy Mann, Mr. Sir Oliver Tambo, and other members of the ANC. Ma'am, we salute your indomitable spirit. Your legacy of making the world bright and beautiful for all continues to light our way. Thank you so much.
As we go down memory lane to recall Mandela's great journey of his life's long walk to freedom, we pay tribute today to the great icon who symbolized freedom, sacrifice, and justice in South Africa and the world. Dr. Nelson Mandela will be remembered as a great liberator and ever-inspiring role model for posterity for years to come. It's a day which exemplifies peace and love for humanity. Nelson Roohilallah Mandela, called the troublemaker, couldn't have imagined the magnitude of the trouble his presence would bring to the imperialist and apartheid regime of South Africa. It is indeed a rare experience to be a part of history, which saw the emergence of an ordinary shepherd boy becoming a prodigal leader, a living legend, a hero of millions across the globe, who proved that indomitable courage, grit, and determination can move mountains. His life has been a saga of resistance against the brutal and tyrannical oppression of the South African people, and no hero or legend ever went through such protracted trials in order to arrive at so improbable a victory. In Desmond Tutu's words, it will help us never to forget, lest we in turn repeat the ghastliness of apartheid. To overthrow oppression, wrote Mandela, is the highest aspiration of every free man. He further writes in his autobiography, "There is no easy walk to freedom anywhere, and many of us will have to pass through the valley of the shadow of death again and again before we reach the mountain tops of our desires." Inspired by the Mahatma, Mandela soon became a messiah of hope for struggling millions of people of South Africa and the world in upholding the dignity of man, immortalized, worshipped and admired by all humanity. As we at Bluebells traversed down a memory lane, Africa Club in particular shared an almost emotional and umbilical bond with Madiba and the people of South Africa. Founded under the leadership of our founder principal, late Mrs. Sony, the 30 long years were years of fiery commitment and passion to a cause of the worldwide Release Mandela campaign. Children expressed their solidarity by sending cards, greetings, messages, poems. The unstinted support and solidarity of the children overwhelmed Dr. Mandela when he visited India and desired to meet the Africa Club members to acknowledge his personal gratitude to the children. It was an emotionally moving and stirring experience to have a person of his stature thanking the children in person. The invitation extended to our children in South Africa in 2003 was a dream come true. And the visit to Robben Island and the room which confined him left us numb with emotion and admiration. It was a feat not possible for ordinary mortals. In a world where role models seem to be fast disappearing, Dr. Mandela doth bestride the world like a colossus and remains a symbol of inspiration for people all over the world, and being conferred with the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993 symbolized the ultimate triumph of the human spirit over man's inhumanity to man. Minds that seek revenge destroy states, while those that seek reconciliation build nations. Walking out the door to my freedom, I knew that if I don't leave all the anger, hatred, and resentment behind me, I would still always be a prisoner. These electrifying and beautiful words still ring true and send a strong message in today's conflict-ridden world. Today, in the backdrop of unabated violence and mass killings of innocent people, the cry for peace is universal, and the need of the hour is to sensitize the youth to be peace activists, to inspire positive change through community work and volunteering. That will be our real tribute to the celebration of this day as an International Mandela Day declared by the United Nations to honor his life and legacy and to make our little difference. So to join us on this momentous occasion and celebrate this great day, we are delighted to welcome our chief guest, His Excellency High Commissioner of the Embassy of South Africa in Delhi, Dr. Anil Sookhlal. Professor Sookhlal has been ambassador in various countries, European Union, Belgium, Luxembourg, and before his political career of being a member of the African National Congress involved in South African liberation struggle. His academic career spans many years of academic research, being a recipient also of several international awards as the Pravas Bharatiya Samman Award, the Presidential Award by the Government of India in 2019 in recognition of promoting South Africa-India diplomatic relations. He was recognized with the Lifetime Achievement Award by the India Association of South Africa in 2019. We are indeed honored and proud to have you amidst us this morning, Professor Sookhlal. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and a very warm welcome to Mrs. Sookhlal as well. Thank you for being with us. It's also a very special honor to welcome the ambassador of the Palestine Embassy in India, Mr. Abdullah. Our association with the embassy goes back to the days of Yasser Arafat, and we fondly remember our great relationship and friendship. Thank you for being with us on your very first visit to Bluebells, and our solidarity with the Palestinian people remains steadfast, resolute, and enduring as we pray for peace for the Palestinian people to get back their homeland and the right to self-determination. A very, very warm welcome to you. We are delighted to have Mr. Cedric Crawley, a great friend who keeps alive a very special friendship with new ideas. We thank him for initiating an exchange with the Sattar School in Durban and are working on formalizing this exchange. Indeed, we are very excited, and a very warm welcome to you. Peter, we remember the lovely visit of your school and bringing Mr. and Mrs. Nanji from the board of the Shastri College, and I hope that we can take it forward. Thank you for being with us this morning. Our very own chairperson, managing board, Bluebells, Padma Shri, Dr. Reddy. I think no function can actually take place without you, so it's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us this morning. Our very special welcome to our international fraternity and parents who have joined us this morning from the embassies, members of our managing board, and friends who are going to give a great joy to the children for this celebration of Mandela this morning. And so thank you all for making this day truly special with your presence. I hope you all enjoy it. Thank you so much. May I invite Dr. Reddy to send and to share his greetings for the day. Chairperson, Padma Shri, Dr. Reddy.
Your Excellency, Your Excellency, Professor Anil Sookhlal, Mr. Sookhlal, the Honorable High Commissioner of South Africa, Deputy His Excellency Cedrick Crawley, South African High Commission, Ambassador Palestine, Mr. Abdullah Abushawesh, Dr. Sattar Ayyed, the Principal of Iraqi School, Subhash Borkar, an eminent scholar, activist, and author. Dignitaries, honorable guests on the occasion, my colleagues from the managing board, Mrs. Suman Kumar, the director, Mrs. Sonal Rawat, the principal, Bhavana, our supervisor, my dear dignitaries, the most honorable staff members of my school, and dear children. Good morning all. It is indeed a great honor to speak on this occasion, the Nelson Mandela International Day, where we celebrate not just a man, but the very spirit of humanity, resilience and forgiveness. It is also the spirit of human dignity, courage and compassion, a spirit that Nelson Mandela always so powerfully embodied. Nelson Mandela's quotes are always ever admirable and adorable. To quote a few, my friends, what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to our fellow men when we are alive. Also, another beautiful quote to remember in our life, it is not the character of growth that we should learn from, both pleasant and unpleasant, but the experiences you should forget of the bad and go ahead with the future in your addressing the nations. That is the very essence of the human spirit, my friends, to rise above hardship, to fight for justice, and to believe in the power of forgiveness. Mandela spent 27 years in prison, yet when he emerged, he was the first black president of a great nation. He did not seek revenge. Instead, he chose reconciliation over retaliation, hope over hate. He united a deeply divided nation into a great nation that inspired the whole world. What makes Mandela an exceptional is not just what he achieved, but how he achieved it with grace, humility, and unshakable belief in humanity. My friends, and Your Excellency, in fact, it is a great honor to say His Excellency with us is a professor and an academician. What an honor to have you with us, sir. To this educational world, the younger generation who are waiting to hear from you, and that is a great inspiration for us, great choice when we have you with us. Your Excellency, we are especially honored by your presence today. It connects us more directly to the soil and spirit of South Africa, where Madiba's journey began and whose destiny he helped to reshape. As young citizens of the world, we are reminded today that each one of us can be a Mandela. By standing up for the truth, by listening deeply, by acting with kindness and courage, let us remember the greatest glory in our lives is not in never falling, but in rising every time that we fall. Nelson Mandela's famous quote all the time. He lived and he began, he rose to the power. Let us Mandela's life be our compass. Let his spirit live in our words and in our actions. So we gather here at the Bluebells International School. Let us commit ourselves not just to remember Mandela, but to live his values, inclusiveness, dignity, equality, and above all, a hope to live forever. Because the human spirit, when guided by love and truth, can overcome any wall, any chain, any silence. Thank you, Jai Hind, and long live the legacy of Nelson Mandela. My dear friends, I am here for the last 18 years as the chairperson of the Bluebells International School. I worked with Madam Sony, and also I am associated, Your Excellency, you will see tomorrow when we go as a chief guest. Both these two school chairpersons, founder chairperson, they were committed to one, a man who lived for truth, for dignity, and for the freedom of the nation, Nelson Mandela. If we all agree, my friends, let us stand for 2 minutes in silence to honor Nelson Mandela and also our great founder chairperson, Madam Sony. Please stand. Thank you. Thank you.
Madiba's story is not just a chapter in history. It is a heartbeat, a pulse that continues to awaken people's movements across the world. He was a man who walked through pain without letting it poison him. He showed us that even in the darkest dungeons of injustice, a soul lit with hope can light 1,000 more. And our school too has been touched by his light. Under the visionary mentorship of our beloved founder principal, Ms. G. Sony, Bluebells formed a special bond with South Africa, a connection rooted not just in history, but in shared dreams of dignity, equality, and humanity. This decade-long association blossomed into a bond of friendship, a rainbow bridge built on compassion, culture, and community. And today, as war clouds gather and borders harden, we must remind ourselves that our world needs not more divisions, but more dreamers. Not more noise, but more listeners. Not more walls, but more windows. So let this generation, our generation, rise, not in anger, but in empathy. Let us be the generation that pauses to understand, that refuses to dehumanize, that dares to feel when others choose to look away. Let us be the generation that carries Madiba's torch with tender strength in our conversations, in our choices, in our compassion. It is time to build not just intelligent minds, but kind hearts. As we watch this presentation, let us all reflect. In a world torn by what separates us, Mandela offered a vision of what can unite us, a rainbow world.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends
good morning to our Honorable Chief Guest, respected dignitaries, esteemed members of the school management, teachers, and dear students. Today, we do not just mark a date, we awaken a legacy. We rise to remember Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, Madiba, a man who stood unshaken in the storm of oppression and walked out of 27 years in prison, not with revenge, but with resolve, to rebuild, to reconcile, and to reimagine a nation. And as the world stands today, fractured by war, division, and rising intolerance, his message becomes not just relevant, but vital. From the streets of Gaza echoing with grief, to the war-torn landscapes of Ukraine, from the deepening ethnic strife in Sudan, to the silenced cries of the displaced in Myanmar and Syria, from the enduring unrest in Kashmir, to the lingering trauma in West Asia. We live in a world where radical ideologies threaten harmony, where identity becomes a battleground, and where the lines of humanity blur amid political noise. We are collectively disconcerted. But in such times, Mandela's life reminds us that peace is not passive. It is a fight. A fight not with weapons, but with values. He proved that the most powerful weapon we have is dialogue, that reconciliation is not weakness, and that even after decades of injustice, the human spirit can still choose unity over hatred.
This morning, we pay tribute to that indomitable spirit. Through drama, dance, music, and melody, we honor not just a man who freed a country, but a man who redefined what it means to be truly free. Madiba was not only a leader, he was an ambassador of peace, a custodian of conscience, and a warrior of wisdom. He transformed bitterness into bridges and struggle into symphonies of hope. He once said, "To be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others." So today, let us not simply remember Mandela. Let us become the voice of Mandela in our homes, in our classrooms, in our choices, and in our dreams. Let this assembly be not a performance, but a promise. A promise that we will carry his legacy forward with courage, compassion, and conscience. To begin this celebration of spirit, we present a song that once gave strength to the African National Congress and to the freedom fighters of South Africa. Welele. Let its rhythm remind us, freedom always has a song, and that song must never fade.
Will It took nearly a decade for the people of South Africa to come out from the clutches of apartheid. It was a system that began with the dominance of the whites over the blacks. It marked one of the most violent histories of South Africa's past. Human dignity was denied, and the rights of every black man and woman in South Africa were in the hands of their white masters.
The stories of racial discrimination faced by blacks all over South Africa were narrated globally. The multicultural tribes of the Xhosas, Zulu, Bendan, Shangaan and Sotho prayed that a Messiah would free them from the violence and the discriminations of the whites. Such a man was Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, lovingly called Madiba.
Mandela, through his efforts at fighting the racist white regime, found himself as the target of apartheid. After the ban of the African National Congress in 1960, which began a liberation movement against apartheid, he went underground in 1961 and became the leader of Umkhonto we Sizwe, the armed wing of the African National Congress.
In 1962, Mandela was captured and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Soon, he was joined by his colleagues and they were sentenced to lifetime imprisonment for the sabotage of the Rivonia tribe.
Get down now. Don't slow down now. You're not going to win this place around you. You see it? This place, this prison, it will be your home for the rest of your worthless lives. Trying to stage an uprising against the South African government. Our South African government. Did you seriously think that we all would not take notice?
Defying the authority that we have over South Africa. You and your friends here think that your voices are louder than ours. I mean, Mandela should now realize that this is prison. You and your accomplices cannot rot here.
I am sure, my friend, that my time here in prison will help us all get acquainted better. I, for one, must think for our people. And while you stand here, raising your hand against me and my friends, beyond the walls of Robben Island Prison, the Rivonia trial is already hailed as a landmark event.
It is good to know, Mandela, that our operation, My Way, has found so much coverage within these prison walls. Our efforts through this operation to overthrow the racist government has been met with success. Yes! Sure. So, Mr. Prison Guard, yes, we could put up a plan to rid South Africa of its white regime. I must say, Govan Beki and Joe Slovo planned this whole operation so well that only a handful of us ANC members knew about it. You both wrote a 6-page plan of action for Operation My Way.
We planned possible guerrilla movements and a mass armed operation against the South African government. The ANC slogan has always been, power to the people!
Power to the people! Power to the people! Power to the people!
And we knew that Operation My Way would be the answer.
We squashed your operation all right. That's the release leave forming. Did you think you could keep your whereabouts hidden from the police? You all decided to close your operations at the farm, didn't you? But we got Walter Zulu, who was hiding there. Our sources confirmed it. Mandela, we have given our youth for South Africa's cause. Our families have suffered while we spent our time here in prison. All because of the white superiors who feel that a black man cannot dream of freedom. This is our land, and we are made to suffer indignity.
cannot have it.
You're right.
Yes. Our land! Our land! Our land! Quiet, all of you. You are all the black menace. Understand? This is prison. Know your place here. If we need to use violence to stifle your voices, we will use it. I will make sure that your voices are silenced here forever.
You think you can silence us, prison guards? Our people will shout for us.
Calm yourself down, my friends. It is good that there is so much anger. But what use is this anger if only to harm or kill? Use it to build a country of men and women who are free. To build a country of men and women who are equal. Where your identity is not defined by the color of your skin, but by the good deeds that you do for its people.
But this task is impossible, Mandela. Building a country of equals? How? How can we really achieve this?
What is happening beyond these prison walls, we have no control over. The apartheid has inflicted brutality upon our people. It has left scars, scars that will never fade.
These scars, Mandela, are inflicted on our children, our future. Is it not arrogance, Mandela, that we don't see how this fight is tearing our spirit?
My friends, our scars are a reminder of our fight to build a South Africa where we and our children are free to live in. So your mind should be without fear, and your head should be held high.
without fear, and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. Where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. Where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake.
dealt with racial authority within prison, the blacks of South Africa continued to struggle with lack of jobs, housing, poor wages, and racial segregation.
In Soweto, a tiny township, the education of black children became the main reason for increasing anger against the government.
Did you hear? Did you hear? The children have taken to the streets. They're fighting the new laws created by the government. They should. The South African government spends no money on our children. More than 25% of them drop out of school. This racist government has ensured that Afrikaans will be the language used to teach all subjects in school. This move will be terrible for the kids, yes? English education gave them a future.
Have you heard? Mandela, have you heard?
What happened?
There was a massive uprising in Soweto. They're using violence against our kids.
The children! Other townships too are joining Soweto. This is huge. Mandela, our children are taking our efforts to the people.
Friends, did you hear? Mandela, did you hear?
What happened?
The police has lashed out at the kids. A young boy, Hector Peterson, was killed.
What?
It's not children. Mandela, that child was 14. 14.
This is the darkest hour in South Africa's history, where children are being targeted. Yet, somewhere in our hearts, we have to believe. We have to believe that this challenge, together, we shall overcome. We shall overcome.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall live in peace someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall live in peace someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
In the Robben Island prison, Mandela would spend 18 of his 27 years in prison. He and his comrades were forced to do hard labor in a quarry. Despite being taunted by the white prison guards, Mandela would remain very dignified and polite in his dealings with them. This inner strength and resilience led to the development of an unlikely friendship.
was 19 years old.
Mr. Brand, Gandhi and Martin Luther King have led very inspirational lives. I, before coming to this prison, believed that it was violence that was needed to bring change within people. But after spending so much time alone and reading their books, I have finally understood that I need to change myself first to bring change.
Enough. Do you seriously think that you can make a change in the way our country works? Huh. How can a black man and a white man possibly be equals? Tell me. I have lived my entire life knowing that there is no equality there between us. A black menace, that is what you are known to us as. A terrorist, that is what they call you and all of your friends here.
No, Mandela, I have seen you quietly work in your cell. You are nothing like what they have told me. If anything, I admire the way you and your friends continue to speak about the African life and your fight for your people.
My friends, surely your hearts are large enough to say that we are all under the same sky. And being in prison, it does not frighten me. Rather, it has strengthened my belief that we are all but one. The blacks of South Africa shall embrace the whites. The black children shall play with the white children. And together, we shall rise. We shall rise. We shall rise.
Still I rise by Maya and
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may drown me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides. Just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard? 'Cause I laugh like I've got gold mines, digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise.
out of the huts of history's shame, I'll rise. Up to the past that's rooted in pain, I'll rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, swelling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I'm the dream and the hope of the slave.
I rise, I rise, I rise.
In 1990, Mandela stepped out of prison as a free man. He left behind a host of admirers, all of whom were the white prison guards. His challenge now was to set up a multi-racial government that was to combat racism.
Mandela, do you think the blacks and the whites will be able to interact with each other after the rough times that we had?
Mandela, doubtful whether they'll accept you and your vision of a new South Africa. Can we truly keep our differences aside?
Mandela, it has been a long walk to freedom. Will the racist whites not be resentful?
Friends, now that Nelson Mandela has walked free from prison, he might be given the same treatment that we give them. He might face discrimination too.
Mandela has gathered a huge base of followers outside this prison, and hundreds of people have come to see him be released. I fear that we might be outnumbered.
My dear prison guards, my comrades, come, please join me. I want to thank each of you for giving me so much to do and think during my time in prison. You all are part of this new South Africa. I want to help build our nation on the foundation of peace, liberty, and brotherhood. Comrades and fellow South Africans, I stand before you in the name of peace, democracy, and freedom. I stand here before you not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people. Today, the majority of South Africans, black and white, recognize that apartheid has no future. Our first step would be to set up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to deal with human rights and political violations committed by both supporters and opponents of apartheid. We shall deal with these matters with compassion and really build a multicultural world where there is no fear from one another. The South Africa that will rise in the world will be a role model for other nations to follow. My friends, come, let us heal together and work together to build our rainbow world.
1977 became the first long walk to freedom, where Mandela, through his humility, won admirers all over the world. Madiba for long has been an ambassador for peace and an inspirational figure always. Today, let us all celebrate his life together.
I'm glad you came.
Child, regardless of race or nationality, could dream freely and live with dignity. In that spirit, we now bring to you voices from across the globe, our international students at Bluebells who carry forward his legacy of friendship, respect, and unity. Here they are, joining hands across cultures to wish Madiba a heartfelt happy birthday. Because Ubuntu, I am because we are, is not just a South African philosophy. It's a truth that lives in every Bluebellian's heart.
Bon anniversaire, Madiba from France. Parabéns, Madiba from Tavallud Mubarak, Madiba from Persia.
Madiba from Mongolia. Madiba from Madagascar.
Sogrit Mubarak Madiba from Afghanistan. Happy birthday, Madiba.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the cranes rise into the sky, they carry with them our dreams of peace, our pledge to brotherhood, and an unyielding spirit of togetherness.
Cheering your soul time, choosing your battle. Pick yourself up and dust yourself off and back in the saddle. You're on the front line, everyone's watching. You know it's yours, we're getting closer, this isn't over. The pressure's on. You got it all.
congratulations and celebration when I tell everyone that you're in love with me. Congratulations and jubilation. I want the world to know I'm happy as can be. Who would believe that I could be happy and contented? I used to think that happiness had its name waiting, but that was in the bad old days before I met you. When I let you walk into my heart. Congratulations and celebration when I tell everyone that you're in love with me. Congratulations and jubilation. I want the world to know I'm happy as can be. I was afraid to think that you thought you were above me, that I was only fooling myself that you loved me. But since tonight you said you wouldn't live without me, that round about me you wanted to stay. Congratulations and celebrations when I tell everyone that you're in love with me. Congratulations and jubilation. I want the world to know I'm happy as
It is our honor to invite someone who truly understands the value of leadership, vision, and humanity. May I please invite our chief guest, Professor Anil Sookhlal, to address the gathering.
Firstly, a big round of applause to all of them. Absolutely brilliant, absolutely outstanding. You took us on a journey of our past. From a society so deeply divided, full of pain and suffering, and you brought us the joy of freedom and democracy on stage today. What a journey. Thank you. Thank you so much for this. Madam Suman Kumar, Madam Rawat, Dr. Reddy, my brother, Ambassador of Palestine, other excellencies that may be here, and my dear friends, our students. Firstly, thank you so much for giving us this privilege to be at Bluebells today. I think at the very outset, I must thank Madam Sony. Let's give her a big round of applause because she's watching us. During the dark days of our struggle, she saw fit to adopt South Africa, and she adopted all of us. She is a mother to South Africa. For the sacrifices she made, and all of you that contributed to the freedoms that we enjoy today. I can stand here today as High Commissioner of South Africa only because of the sacrifices made by all those before me. And she's one of them. And we are truly, truly grateful that we had visionaries like Madam Sony, who, despite the fact that you were relatively newly freed, you could see the suffering of others and you could identify with the suffering of others. Not only identify, but contribute to that journey. And Bluebells is very much part of South Africa. In many senses, when you look at the relationship between our two countries and when that history is written, Bluebells will definitely feature in that history.
Many of the children of those that were housed by India during the days of exile attended the school. And many went on to become leaders in a free democratic South Africa. And that contribution is something that we will always remember. And I think this bond of friendship that has been forged through history, during our dark days of struggle, and post-democracy is symptomatic of the friendship that the people of South Africa and the people of India enjoy. And it underpins the strong relationship between our two countries. We are gathered here to celebrate the life of Madiba. Viva Madiba! Viva! Viva Madiba! I want to hear you. Viva! Because I know all of you love Mandela. Viva Mandela! Viva Mandela! We are celebrating this remarkable personality. But in celebrating Nelson Mandela, we are also celebrating collectively the lives of all that contributed to our freedom struggle. In that person that is Nelson Mandela is the impression of all those that have collectively contributed. You took us through the journey of history, and for us as South Africans it was a very emotional journey. Very often we tend to forget history as time moves on. We tend to forget the sacrifices made by those that made it possible to us to enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy today in South Africa. And celebrating International Nelson Mandela Day is a reminder of our history and the contribution, the sacrifices, the lives that were lost, the years in prison, the years under banning order, the years under all forms of laws that were passed by the South African apartheid regime to keep us in bondage. But I'm glad that we gather here today amongst our students in this educational institution. You vividly displayed that Mandela spent many hours writing. And he did that deliberately. I found Mac Maraj. Mac Maraj was imprisoned in Roman Island with Mandela. 2 nights ago I found him. He turned 90 in April. Still very active. And he told me he's writing his second book of his experience under the apartheid regime. So I told him I'm coming to Bluebells School to give a speech. And I want a message from you that I want to give to the students. He's one of the few that are still alive that were in prison with Mandela. And he said, give them my love. And I think that's the common human denominator that binds us all together. It's this compassion and love that was so evident in President Mandela's life. Mac, like Mandela, is not bitter. He served as our first Minister of Transport under the Mandela government. But it was Mac Maraj, all those letters that Mandela wrote in prison. As you know, they were not allowed to communicate with the outside world. But Mandela had to get his message across, so therefore he wrote profusely. The apartheid guards gave him that freedom because they know that he could not communicate that writing outside. Mac Maraj was tasked to smuggle those letters outside from an island, and he did so brilliantly. That was his job. So we must also pay tribute to people like Mac Maraj. Walter Sisulu that you mentioned here. Mandela had a good early life. He had a good Wesleyan education at the Methodist school. Very devout and religious, and he went on then to Fort Hare University. It was at Fort Hare University that his politicization started. It was here that he was noticed by Walter Sisulu, who was to become his mentor, and his comrade later on, who also was imprisoned under the Rivonia treason trial at Robben Island, who transformed Mandela into the political activist. And then when he moved from Fort Hare to Johannesburg, where he and Oliver Tambo opened the first ever black law firm in Johannesburg, they founded the ANC Youth Wing because they were dissatisfied at the pace in which the ANC leadership was moving in terms of our leadership struggle. That's the youth energy that was needed, and they founded the Youth Wing of the African National Congress. It was his frustration and his comrades' frustration that led him to take the route of founding a military wing of the ANC, controversies. But they were very clear that military action will not be directed to human lives. It will be directed to the apartheid installations, military regimes, and other such infrastructure. And that is what the sabotage was all about, that led to his imprisonment, ultimately through the treason trial and his fellow comrades. But most of those that were imprisoned in Robben Island embarked on further studies. I spoke to Sats Cooper. Sats Cooper was not from the African National Congress a day ago. Sats Cooper was from the Black Conscious Movement. Some of you may recall Steve Biko, that was killed in prison in 1977 by the apartheid regime. He was one of our most promising leaders. Many felt that he could be a future president of South Africa. Sats Cooper and Steve Biko were the founders of the Black Conscious Movement. Sats Cooper was imprisoned. He actually shared the same prison cell with Nelson Mandela. He's 75 years old. I spoke to him and I told him I'm coming to Bluebells as well. They are still very active in South Africa today as part of our nation building. Now, of course, when you speak of Mandela, when he went to Fort Hare, as I said, he was a devout Christian. He was a Sunday school teacher. He would go to church every Sunday, unfailingly, and became a Sunday school teacher. But the transformation of Mandela took place in Robben Island. Now, I'm sure some of you that went to South Africa visited Robben Island, and you saw the size of the cell that he had to live in. And Mandela was a statuesque person, quite tall. That bed was not even sufficient to house his entire body. But for him, being isolated in Robben Island was also a process of transformation and inner reflection. He didn't walk out of Portsmouth prison after his time there, after Robben Island, and transform overnight into the so-called Messiah that we know of after he left prison. His whole philosophy of life, and there is so much of synergy in the life of Gandhi and the life of Mandela. Like Gandhi, he was also a lawyer. And much of his politicization came when he opened up the law firm with Oliver Tambo, because it was the only black law firm. And most of the services they provided to the black community was for free. But it was the kind of cases that they were encountering on a daily basis that brought them into the cold face of the hardships that the majority community faced in South Africa, that left a lasting impression on him and began his transformation process in terms of recognizing that he has to give his life to the struggle. And that's why in 1964, when he stood at the dock after being sentenced to life in prison, he was very clear that when he stood up and said, I have fought all my life for the principles of freedom, and I will not compromise on that. And if need be, I am prepared to die for my beliefs. Despite the fact that he was sentenced to life in prison, it didn't break his spirit. The apartheid regime, you know, in South Africa, education was weaponized by the apartheid regime because education was the most powerful instrument that could change society, as Mandela himself said. Don't take it for granted that you are sitting here at a school and getting educated. According to the UN, there are some 250 million children around the world today that have no access to schools, that have no access to education. They want to learn, but unfortunately the majority of these are in Africa. There's no basic facilities. And this is what the apartheid regime did. In order to oppress a people, you keep them illiterate. You don't give them access to education. Because once you're educated, you recognize and understand the values of life. So education was segregated in South Africa, and that segregation was also graded. The majority African community hardly had access to decent schools. Many of the schools were under trees in open fields, if at all. They didn't train educators, so you didn't even have teachers to teach. For the colored and Indian community, you had a better facilities. Even the curriculum was so structured that you had no choice in determining what subjects you studied. It was the apartheid regime that decided what subjects would be taught. And that's why in 1976 you had this explosion in Soweto, the so-called student riots. It exploded around what? Around language. Around Afrikaans being forced on all of us. I had to learn Afrikaans in school. Cedric had to learn Afrikaans in school. Peter had to learn Afrikaans in school. What value did it give to my life? Zero. Zero. But because it was the language of our oppressors, it was forced upon us. Even the Indian community that went to South Africa as indentured laborers, my history is part of that. My great-great-grandfather went and worked in the sugar fields in KwaZulu-Natal, from a village somewhere here in Gazipur. But the Indian community were never accepted as an integral part of South Africa. The movement of Indians from India to South Africa started in 1860 and continued until 1911, when the British Empire came under tremendous pressure to discontinue this. But no provision was made for proper schooling for the Indian community. It was an Indian that went to South Africa as part of the British Indian government then, called Srinivasa Sastry. He was sent to South Africa in 1926 as the first, what they call, agent general of the British government to South Africa. When Sastry arrived in Durban, where the majority of Indians were housed, because that's where the sugar plantations were in KwaZulu-Natal province, this was in 1926. From 1860, Indians were moving there, and many decided to stay there. He noticed that the governors of the school had a farewell for me. And at that farewell, they told me, look, we have lost contact with the Sastry family. And in a few years, we'll be 100 years old, and we are starting preparations to celebrate that. Now, Sastry College became one of the prestigious schools in the Indian community. Of course, only Indian students could go there. Schooling was such that it was also segregated along racial lines. And they said, can you go and find us, firstly, the Shastri family. We want contact with the Shastri family. Secondly, can you find us a school that we can twin it? And immediately I told my wife, it must be Bluebells School, because they have a history with South Africa. So when I arrived here in October, I started two processes. I told Cedric, you must contact Bluebells School and see if we can get some twinning arrangement with Sastry College. And I started the journey to find the Sastry family. And it's only about 2 months ago, that eventually through the Ministry of Culture here, we found the Sastry family. And they are resident in Mylapore, in Tamil Nadu. They were so excited that we made contact with them. So last month, we went on home leave, and we had a webinar between the entire Sastry family and the board of Sastry College. So now there's formal link with the family, and we hope that we're going to sign this MOU with Bluebells. And it's the first time that we'll have a trinity between schools in South Africa and India, and I hope this will be part of the process. And of course, this is what Mandela would have wanted. This is what Mandela would have wanted. I was very fortunate that I had the occasion to interact with him on many occasions. Firstly, while I was still an academic, about 2 months after he was imprisoned, I was part of a delegation with Archbishop Tutu to go and meet Nelson Mandela. And I was very fortunate. He sat at the head of table, and the first chair was where I sat. And someone asked me, what did you notice of Mandela? I said, you know, he sat at the table with his hands spread out on the table, and all I could look at is imagine what those hands went through. But they were powerful hands. As I said, he's a very tall person, so he had big hands. So that impression still I have, my first impression of Mandela. Of course, in 1994, when we became a democracy, the ANC asked me to join government, and I was posted to Geneva. And a few months later, he came to Geneva for the International Telecommunication Union Summit. And I gave him my book, Long Walk to Freedom, which he signed, addressed to me. And I still have that today as a lifelong treasure, as a remembrance of him. But of course, when I went back to, after my posting, I was appointed head of the parliamentary office in Cape Town. And whenever we had international dignitaries, I would have the privilege of taking them to meet President Mandela, either at his house or at the office. So I had many such occasions. I recall fondly taking the daughter of President Nasser of Egypt. She was writing a book on her father, and she wanted to interview Mandela. And I took her to meet Mandela, where she interviewed him. So I have some very fond. But I think if there's anything that we have to remember and lessons that we have to take from his life, was his simplicity and humility. He became a world statesman. But if you met Mandela, he would make you feel as if you're the most important person on earth. That's how he embraced you. And I think as we educate ourselves, we have to think, and as the founder of this organization so rightfully had, she was a visionary when she spoke of one family, one planet, one earth, one family, one humanity. That's very much the vision of Mandela as well, which he embodied in his life. That simplicity should not be lost. Because what apartheid taught us, and it was a very painful period, those of us that lived through it, to understand, and as children, I recall as a primary school child, there was one area in central Durban that was the High Street. And I would accompany my mother on a shopping trip. And you know, ladies like to spend a lot of time shopping. I think men do so today as well. And you'd be tired and there should be chairs on the street. And I'd want to go and sit there, and she'd tell me, but you can't sit there. And I'd ask her why. Because it would be marked for whites only. Or when we wanted to go to Durban Beach to swim, we had to go to the beach designated for Indians. Coloreds had to go to the beach for coloreds. Africans had to go to the beach for Africans. But if you had a pet dog, my pet dog could walk on the white beach. It was not not charged or prosecuted. These were some of the laws that we had to live under. We could not enter a five-star hotel because that was for whites only. During my days as a student at university, I worked in my holidays at a five-star hotel in Delhi. And all of the patrons would be white, but we as blacks had to serve them. And you couldn't befriend them. When you had foreign guests and they would try to befriend you, you had to keep a distance because we had certain very strange laws. My first degree was in art, in fine arts. And I recall we had an opportunity to go to the University of Natal that had a fine arts school as well. So they took us for a joint program, But in the evening they had a reception and we couldn't be part of that reception because we were black. And the reception was in the home of one of the white students. These were some of the laws that may seem very strange now. But this is how we were divided, and this is what Mandela stood up for. And all those that were involved in our liberation struggle. That all of humanity is one. No matter how important we become in life, you may become a professor, become a president, a minister, a surgeon, a lawyer. Never lose our common humanity. Never lose our common humanity. Because it's that same spark that pulsates in my heart that pulsates in your heart. It's the same blood that runs through Mandela's veins that run through my veins, and your veins. So I think that's the lesson we can take from his life. He dedicated his entire life so that we can enjoy the freedoms we enjoy today and build a nation that we are still trying to build, that's united, that's not divided, that's non-racial, non-sexist, that recognize every citizen as an equal citizen. And that's what he fought for. And I think this is the world that we need to reshape. It's a world that's so full of conflict, so full of hate, so full of violence, that when we watch TV today and we see Israel bombing in Gaza and 200 or 300 people are killed, we don't even blink an eye. We become immune to the suffering of our fellow human beings. And I think we need to pause and reflect on the suffering of others. As Mandela said in '94 when we attained our freedom, as long as Palestine is not free, South Africa cannot be truly free. So you have come from that same history. Your grandparents, great-grandparents were part of your own struggle, part of the freedom, the free India, the vibrant India that you have inherited, and that you will shape into the future to become one of the most powerful nations on earth, is because of the sacrifices that your parents, your grandparents, and those before them made. The thousands that were killed, be it at Jallianwala Bagh or the 1857 uprising. Don't forget that history. And that's the same message we give to our South Africans. You have embraced our history so well, so richly demonstrated here today. As you performed, it brought back those painful memories. And we don't like painful memories. We put a block around it. But you cannot block out history. History is there to teach you and draw lessons from your past to shape a better future. And as you go through the portals of this school, this very esteemed school, take with it the lessons of your founder. Take with it the lessons of your gurus and teachers. Don't ever forget that. You know, as a student of fine arts, one of the things I did was ceramics. So you take that lump of clay and put it on the machine. But that lump of clay is full of potential. The vase is already there. I'm just the instrument to shape it into the vase. So you are full of potential. Sitting amongst you are PhDs and masters already. It's inside you. And the teachers here are the instruments that's going to water that and ensure that you have blooms that will fertilize the whole of Indian society. So you are at the most crucial phase of your life. Make the best of it. Don't take it for granted. You had Mandela giving his life and shaping our vision of the South Africa we want. He called us the Rainbow Nation. Deliberately so, because South Africa is such a diverse society. He, not only was he forgiving and embracing all those that even oppressed him, but he set in motion a process towards nation building. It was his vision that we must have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the TRC, and he could have chosen no better person than Archbishop Desmond Tutu to head that process. Because if we cannot address our past and heal and forgive, how are we going to build a future with hatred and division? And what we can learn from his life, the best human gift that you can have is that of forgiveness. Because by holding a grudge, you are actually stifling your own growth. And as you go into adulthood and into your respective careers, take the valuable lessons and the experience that you are drawing from this very esteemed school and all those that go before you. Remember the life of Mandela and what he stood for, the life of Gandhi and what he stood for. Very often I would quote Rabindranath Tagore during the days of apartheid when I gave public speeches, where the mind is without fear. That was quoted by me so often. And I wished for that moment where my country can awake in that realm of freedom, as Tagore so well put it. Most of us in South Africa never thought that we'll have freedom in our lifetime. And we always thought that Palestine would get statehood before South Africa attained freedom. The Palestinians would tell you that. I was very privileged. I met President Arafat when he came to South Africa in 1998 when we hosted the NAM Summit. I met President Mahmoud Abbas when he came on the state visit to South Africa because I was in charge of Asia and the Middle East. Palestine will be free. We know that. Just as we knew that South Africa will be free. It's a matter of time. Because you can't keep a boiling pot, put a lid on it and expect the lid to stay on. It will fly off. And it's the innate nature of the human person to be free and to do good. And we saw that in the life of Mandela. So my message to you is we must constantly celebrate the vision, the life, and the legacy of Mandela, of Gandhi, of Bose, of Tagore, of Martin Luther King, President Arafat, and many others that have given to humanity so much without asking anything in return. And one of the great things that inspired me about India is the concept of self. It's inbuilt into your DNA. That's why you have Vasudeva Kutumbakam. But we have the same philosophy in Africa. Ubuntu, I am because you are. Let us not forget this. Whatever journey we may take in life, the Mandelas and all those like Mandela are there for a reason. And they must be embraced. And they must be fully part of our life, not just on International Mandela Day, but as we walk this journey, taking our respective paths in life, let us be inspired by the message of Mandela, the sacrifices he made, and let us continue building the bonds of friendship between South Africa and India. And you, the Bluebells School, as I've said, is such an integral part of this fabric that is India-South Africa relations. I feel extremely privileged, inspired, and grateful that I could be here this morning, have the opportunity to witness the richness of the school, the creativity of the school, the the talent of all of you. And most importantly, I feel I'm part of the Bluebells family. South Africa is part of the Bluebells family. Viva Madiba! Viva Madiba! Viva Bluebells! Viva India! Viva South Africa! Thank you so much.
Thank you for your inspiring words, sir. I now invite Ma Sony to deliver the vote of thanks.
With deep humility and heartfelt reverence, I stand before all of you to deliver the vote of thanks on this extraordinary occasion, a celebration of legacy that continues to illuminate the path of justice, compassion, and unity. Maya Angelou's Till I Rise echoed the indomitable spirit of Nelson Mandela. The collective voice of a student celebrated dignity, resistance, and triumph, the values that lie at the heart of Angelou's poetry, Mandela's life, and was in the heart of our founder, the late Ma Sony. Her visionary leadership laid the foundation for international solidarity at Bluebells. The presence of her top diplomats here today is indeed a tribute to the enduring bonds that she helped forge. We miss her immensely. And today we paid homage to Nobel laureate Nelson Mandela, a man whose life definitely is a testament to the triumph of the human spirit. His journey was beautifully brought to life in a theatrical presentation tracing his transformation from a young revolutionary to a global symbol of peace. We extend our deepest gratitude to our chief guest, His Excellency, Professor Anil Sookhlal, High Commissioner of South Africa. Sir, your presence here today is profoundly symbolic. A freedom fighter who has played a pivotal role in shaping South Africa's global engagements. Your journey mirrors the very ideals we celebrated today on stage: the struggle, the diplomacy, the resilience, and leadership. And we really feel very privileged that today you reached out to all of us in a very emotive speech where you shared different anecdotes, some very painful, some joyful, with each one of us. And it is very rare that we get to hear from the person who has been a part of that, the main actor, and to be a part of our audience for that. And your insights and your feedback that how beautifully you talked about the role of a mentor in transformation, how the values we have to imbibe, and also, like a chairman said, be Mandela every day. We really will take it forward. Thank you so much, sir. And as a token of a deep appreciation, we request you to accept a small gift from the Bluebells family. We are truly honored, sir. Ms. Nilistra Lal, the First Lady, ma'am, your gracious presence today is a testament to your heartfelt support for our endeavors. May I request you to kindly accept a small token of love from all of us. a musical bridge between Mandela's root and the universal themes of liberation and hope, echoing the spirit of solidarity binding nations. We are privileged to have amongst us today His Excellency, Mr. Abdullah M. Abushawesh, Ambassador of Palestine. Sir, we are deeply honored by your gracious presence and request you to accept a token of appreciation from the Bluebells community. It will be our honor, sir. The celebration dance, inspired by a Soweto movement, was a vibrant homage to the cultural heartbeat of South Africa. It reminded us that joy too is a form of resistance. We are honored with the presence of a guest of honor, Mr. Cedrick C, Deputy High Commissioner of South Africa. Sir, your presence has added immense value to the celebration, and to express a sincere thanks, please accept a token of appreciation from the Bluebells community. And we are also going to take this as an opportunity to request you to tie up the Bluebells School with our comrades in arms with His Excellency Professor Sookhlal and Madiba, and maybe we can have some kind of video conferencing for the students with them. Thank you so much. Awaj Milker underscored the universal message of unity and peace, transcending languages, cultures, and continents. Presence of Assistant Professor Dr. Sattar Ayyed, Principal Iraqi School, Delhi, is truly appreciated. Your presence marks a step forward in building relationships rooted in shared values. Kindly accept a small token of appreciation. The Tagore's timeless verse, "Where mind is without fear," reminded us that the pursuit of justice is not bound by geography, but is a shared common human endeavor. And the profound reflections by our respected chairman, Padma Shri Dr. Shankara Reddy, on Mandela's life and values added depth and resonance to this tribute. Sir, your unwavering support and valuable contribution is fundamental to our journey, guiding us with purpose and inspiring us to uphold the very ideals we celebrated today. Sir, may I warmly invite you to accept this token of our heartfelt appreciation and admiration. We are indeed indebted to you. Your presentation offered a sweeping panorama of a shared journey over the past 4 decades. Mr. Peter, you have been also instrumental in making us bind with the Shastri College and so many other things. May I request you kindly to come and accept this token of our heartfelt appreciation. Thank you so much. To our international parents, members of the Managing Board and friends, thank you for accepting our invitation and joining us in this celebration that transcends borders and speaks to the conscience of the world. A special note of thanks to Ma'am Suman, whose very clear vision and thoughtful guidance helped us shape this event with purpose and precision. Every member of the cultural, multimedia, art departments, and amazing program coordinators, your creativity and commitment has brought this celebration to life. Administrative and support staff, the many hands behind the scenes, our students who are part of the whole program, and student volunteers. Your efforts are the invisible threads that hold this tapestry together. Thank you. In the end, I hope we will carry forward the flame lit by Nelson Mandela, a flame of justice, compassion, love, and unwavering hope. Thank you.
May I request the volunteers to escort the guests to the library. I request all of you to rise for the national anthem.
Imitanda